As we prepare for Season 5 of the amazing build series and the release of Elatrion, we have to remember that not all hunters have access to the same gear, weapons and especially jewels. So I'm Darcblade with a budget build for the Chargeblade in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Now the main purpose of a budget build is to provide a build for newer hunters who do not have a large jewel collection. Thus the builds featured in this series make use of a lot of alpha armor pieces that should allow newer players to farm more jewels for their collection. With the Chargeblade, it's one of the skill-hungry weapons out there, requiring the likes of capacity boost, artillery, and more to make it work effectively. For the Chargeblade budget build, I've gone for a balanced build, utilising offense, defense, and of course all the essential skills that the Chargeblade needs. So for this build you'll need the Glavenus Helm Alpha, the Rex Royal Male Alpha, Kaiser Vambraces Alpha, Damascus Coil Alpha, and the Dodo Gamma Greaves Beta. I'm also using an Artillery Charm 3, and for my weapon I'm using the Luna Eostra, which is the Gold Rathian Chargeblade. Now if you have access to augmentations, I'd recommend a health regen augmentation followed by an affinity increase augmentation and then an augmentation of your choice, to which I've gone for a defense increase augmentation. The specialist tools, they're down to personal preference as always. Next up are the jewels. Now remember, these videos are aimed for newer players who don't have access to a large jewel collection, so I've mainly used common jewels that are not difficult to come by. So first of all, I'd recommend Vitality Jewels for the health boost skill, an attack jewel to increase the attack boost skill, protection jewels for some divine blessing, and then finally you'll have some jewels to play around with, to which I've simply gone for handicraft jewels to increase the sharpness of our weapon a little bit. But this was purely down to personal preference. You can replace these, of course, with whatever you have available to you. So if you've done what I've done here, you should have a build with 150 health, 100 stamina, which will be 200 health and 150 stamina. When you're on a hunt and taking all your relevant consumables, you have an attack of 1141 with a decent chunk of white sharpness. You have 25% base affinity, which can be 75 so long as you're attacking monster weak points that have been tenderized through clutch claw attacks first. You have a poison rating of 420 with impact files, and you have an OK defense of 966. That is exceedingly strong against fire, strong against dragon, but unfortunately weak to water, thunder and ice. Now as for the skills, like I said, the Chargeblade is a skill hungry weapon, so we've tried to accommodate as many as possible here. First of all, we've gone for attack boost to increase the raw attack of this build, and at level 4 or above it also provides us a bonus 5% extra affinity. You have health boost level 3, allowing our health to get to that maximum of 200. You have weakness exploit level 3, which is a skill that increases our affinity so long as we're attacking monster weak points, and should these weak points be tenderized through clutch claw attacks first, this increase to our affinity is even greater. Weakness exploit at level 3 gives us a bonus 50% extra affinity. You have Focus level 3. Focus is kind of an essential skill for the Chargeblade, as it allows us to charge up our files more quickly when we're attacking monsters. The quicker we can charge our files, the quicker we can use our stronger moves and abilities. Anyway, you have Handicraft level 3, which is a byproduct of the jewels mainly. This basically will increase the sharpness of the weapon we're using, but it's not essential. Next up you have Artillery level 3, which is an essential skill if you're using impact files, as this will increase the damage of our file bursts when we're attacking monsters. So basically when we have a charged sword, it will increase the damage of the file bursts that occur after you attack with it. It will increase the damage of our super amped elemental discharge, as well as our axe attacks that consume files. Anyway, you have Divine Blessing level 3, which is a quality of life and defensive skill that allows us to potentially take reduced damage when we take a hit from a monster. You have Heat Guard level 1, another byproduct of the armor we're wearing, but prevents damage when we're in hot environmental zones such as the lava zones in the Guiding Lands or Eldest Recess. You have Capacity Boost level 1, which again is another essential skill for the Chargeblade. Capacity Boost basically increases the amount of files we can have. And finally you'll have Guard level 1, which is again an advisable skill for the Chargeblade. You only really need to invest 1 point in Guard with the Chargeblade, as when you charge up your shield, this combined with Guard level 1 means that you should be able to Guard point and block most incoming attacks with minimal knockback, allowing you to go into a Guard counter move if you so desire. But as the Chargeblade is heavy on the essential skills, this build unfortunately has no set bonus. But nonetheless, that is the budget build for the Chargeblade. Now every build out there comes with pros and cons, and this one is no different. In terms of pros, this build is a balanced build, making use of a decent DPS output thanks to attack boost, weakness exploit and artillery, combined with defensive and quality of life aspects such as health boost, focus and divine blessing. The second pro is that this is a build that can potentially deal fixed damage to monsters. This is all thanks to the Chargeblade's super amped elemental discharge attack and the follow-up file bursts. Thanks to making use of artillery combined with capacity boost, These type of attacks can deal fixed damage to a monster, so you don't have to worry about affinity or the monster's elemental or element resistances. And finally, when it comes to the pros, this build, much like all these budget builds, can pretty much be used against any monster. Even if a monster is slightly resistant to the poison element, you're still able to deal a decent amount of damage to it thanks to the raw attack combined with the artillery skill we have on this build. But unfortunately there are cons. There aren't major cons with this build, but there are a few. Firstly, I would say that this is a build that is lower in terms of defense, but this is because we are using a few pieces of lower tier armor such as the Dodogama Greaves and Glavenus Helm. And the other con is, unfortunately, this build is a jack of all trades, master of none. So it doesn't have the highest raw attack, it doesn't have the highest affinity rating, so on and so forth. So you may not get hunts done as quickly, but overall it shouldn't matter, as you should get them done comfortably. But regardless of pros and cons, this is an effective budget build for the Charge Blade, making use of all the essential skills that Charge Blades need. And this is also a great template for you to start building off of once you start getting the rarer jewels that allow you to replace the various pieces of armor we have in this build. So that is the budget build for the Charge Blade. Of course, as you farm more and more, hunters will get more gear and weaponry, as well as expand their jewel collection. When this happens, I hope that the other builds featured in the Amazing Build series will come in useful. So until next time, I've been Darcblade, bringing you a budget build for the Charge Blade in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.